Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Sam. I'm a professional hairstylist, and today I'm going to be touching up my grown out foilayage. I just want to add a couple highlights up and through here. If you can see my regrowth, my hair naturally is pretty dark. I'm about like a level 5, I would say. Just a little disclaimer, I am a licensed professional. I am not encouraging or condoning anyone to do this at home. If you are not licensed and if you don't really know what you're doing and don't feel comfortable, I'm gonna be using bleach in this video, which can be pretty intense, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can potentially damage your hair or hurt yourself. So if you are gonna be following along with this tutorial, proceed at your own risk. So I'm gonna start off first by sectioning my hair. So I'm gonna be working off of a middle part. I always say if you're someone that flips your hair a lot, work from a middle part, but if there's always one particular spot that you part it in every single time no matter what, then work off of that part. So as you can see, I kind of have these little money pieces here, so I'm gonna section that out. And I do have a widow's peak. So if I pull my hair straight back, you can kind of see it like dips in a little bit like a V. So I'm just gonna take that little widow's peak, and just right here, you can see all that regrowth. Oh my God. And then I like to work around my hairline as well, because then when I pull my hair back, which I do quite often, especially now that it's summer, I don't want all of this to be super dark. So I'm gonna just follow my hairline. So I'm just gonna take a really thin section out from my hairline. You can see that, you can pretty much see through that. So there are my hairline sections. And I like to save these sections for last when I'm doing my own hair, because if you start working by your face, you're gonna have all these foils hanging in your face and they're gonna just make it a lot harder to see what you're doing. Now what I'm gonna do is section down from the apex of my head. So you can just place a comb on the top of your head, and right where it starts to lift off, you're gonna come down. Just follow that around from ear to ear, just like that. And so all this hair in the back, I am just gonna tie away with the hair tie. I'm not gonna be touching that, because really all that I care about is up top and around my face. And I like to let the rest of it grow, because then the more dark root that I have, the more dimension it creates and the more it will make the highlights in the front pop. Okay, so now we have our hairline sectioned out, and then we have these two pieces on either side of our head in the front. So now I need to start mixing up my product. So what I'm gonna be using is Wella Blondor lightening powder. This is my favorite lightener to use, and I'm just gonna take like a scoop of that. So now I'm gonna mix in my developer. I have a bottle of 10 volume and a bottle of 30 volume. So I'm gonna mix the two together to give me a 20 volume, because I don't have a bottle of 20 volume on me at the moment. So if you mix equal parts of the two of these, it will give you something right in the middle, which would be 20 volume. And personally, I like a more runny formula with my lightener. I just feel like it's easier to saturate the hair that way. It's easier to blend out. And then I'm gonna take my Olaplex. I'm just gonna add a little bit. Olaplex is amazing. It's seriously a magical product. It's a bond builder, so while the bleach is gonna go through and kind of break down the bonds of my hair and weaken them, the Olaplex at the same time is gonna be going right back in after it and repairing and strengthening them. So that way, my hair will not only not get damaged from this process, but I find that it actually makes it feel a little bit healthier. Coffee break. Then you want to make sure that you also have your foils. I'm just using regular old kitchen foils today. And then you want a foiling comb or a rat tail comb to help you grab your pieces and weave and all that good stuff. And then of course your applicator brush. So I'm just going to make sure that there are no knots in my hair. And now the sectioning that I'm gonna do this time around, normally, I've shown you guys in videos in the past, I will link it down below, where I will take a mohawk section. So I'll go like around my part like this, and then I will take horizontal foils going back like that. So that way, when I let my hair down, everything is perfectly even and symmetrical around my part. But I feel like because I've shown you that application before, I'm going to do something different today. So right where this section meets that hairline section, do you see right here? I'm just going to come across in like a diagonal, going down lower towards the back, just like that. And then this is where I'm going to do my first foil. So all of this hair underneath, I'm going to just leave. I am just going to come across like this in a diagonal back, making sure that my sections are relatively thin, and I'm just going to weave this. And then I'm going to take my foil, hold my comb a few inches below the top of it, fold the foil over the tail of the comb, and then press it up underneath that weaved piece of hair. Pull it nice and tight. Make sure that I'm holding it nice and tight up at the scalp. And then I'm going to take my product. And I brought it down a little bit lower because I do kind of want to lighten up that area where I had my old shadow root, since we're bringing everything up a little bit higher. So I'm just going to continue taking thin pieces, weaving. Place my foil underneath. And you want to make sure that you're really saturating the hair as much as possible, because if not, you're not going to get the lift that you need. Just going to fold the side to kind of lock it, and also so that it's not like up in my face. And you can see that I paint it on kind of regularly, and then up at the top I feather it up and I paint backwards so that it'll create a nice blend there and I won't have like a really harsh sharp line. Also, the ends of my hair, I don't want to fold this up and press it into the lightener because this doesn't need to get any lighter. So I'm pulling it off to the side and then folding my foil up so that the ends are staying out of that lightener. And you can see how, by coming in diagonally, the very top by my part is gonna have highlights, but they're gonna all kind of just like fall really naturally with the shape of my head. Another thing I wanted to talk about while I'm doing this is your developer volume, because whenever I do a tutorial like this, I always get questions because people notice that I use very low volume developer. And I mean, today, because I'm just doing a few foils and it's a quicker application, I'm using 20, which is more on the high end for me, actually, believe it or not. If I'm doing my whole entire head and it's going to be a longer application, I usually will start with 10 volume at like the highest. Sometimes I'll even do lower than that. And I know that in beauty school they teach you 10 volume will get you 1 level of lift, 20 volume will get you 2 levels, 30 3 levels, 40 4 levels. So if you want the maximum amount of lift, you should use 40 volume. And you might see my natural hair color and think that's pretty dark. You need to get pretty light, so why aren't you using 40 volume or 30 volume? That is a complete myth, and I don't understand for the life of me why they teach that in school, because it's just not correct at all. The lift is all in the lightener that you're using, and most lighteners are about the same. They all typically will say that they have 7 levels of lift to them. The developer that you're using really is just determining the speed in which you're lifting. But the thing is, if you're using 40 or 30, yeah, they're gonna be stronger, but they're gonna die out way faster. And so you're not gonna get as much lift potentially. Like if you only have 10 minutes to process the hair, then yeah, you're gonna get more lift with a 40 volume than a 10 volume. But if you have time and you can let the hair really sit there and fully process, I suggest going lower. It's like they say, slow and steady wins the race. The slower and more gentle you go, the better your lift is gonna be. It's just gonna come out a lot more even. It's not putting the hair through as much shock, so the result is just always gonna be a lot nicer. You're gonna create less damage that way. Plus, whenever you're using foils, you never wanna use 40 volume because they can start smoking. Just a little thing to keep in mind. You would be surprised how much lift you can get out of like 10, 15, 20 volume. The key is to just do nice thin sections, fully saturate the hair so that you ensure that the product is staying wet inside the foils, because that's the thing, those lower volume developers will just keep on going, but as soon as they dry out, they're gonna stop. So as long as you make sure that that product is really nice and saturated so that it's not getting dried out, or if it does, just open up the foil and reapply a little bit more lightener. I'm just gonna kind of bend these foils out of the way and clip them back. And then these pieces at the bottom on the sides that I left out, I'm gonna pull back with the rest of my hair just to get it out of the way. And then I'm gonna let down these hairline pieces. So what I'm gonna do is pull this back, and I'm just gonna grab a really nice thin piece. So I'm kind of like splitting what I originally sectioned out, I'm kind of splitting it in half. So that way I'm leaving this bit out, and that's gonna create some depth between our first foil here and then our hairline. So that way it's not looking like too light and bright. So again, leaving out even a little bit more depth. So this right here is what I'm gonna be highlighting. Place it right under there. And you'll see, again, like I said, I don't start immediately all the way at the top. I start maybe an inch below, and then I feather back. So that it blends really nicely and I don't have any like weird stripy lines. Same thing on this side. And this piece I'm just gonna keep solid as one single piece. I'm not gonna weave it. So I am going to let all of this process for maybe like 30 to 40 minutes or so. I like to just always keep checking on it every 15 minutes. And then once it's looking like a nice light yellow color, I will wash these out, shampoo, and then apply Olaplex number 2. This is the second part in the Olaplex treatment that I put in the lightener, and then I will be back. So I wash my hair and I put the Olaplex number 2 on. I let it sit for about 10 minutes. And then rinsed it out. But all up in here is looking pretty brassy, definitely needs to be toned. The money piece in the front actually came out beautiful. Like this piece right here, I could just tone with some purple conditioner. So I don't even think I'm gonna need my lighter color. I'm just gonna do the shadow root just to smudge this area right here and just get rid of any little bit of brass. So what I'm gonna use for that is Wella Colortouch. This is a demi-permanent color. So anytime you're toning hair, you want to use demi-permanent color. So the color that I am using is 6 Stroke 7-1, which is dark blonde, brown, ash. So level 6 is like your dark blonde, light brown, but because this is demi-permanent color and we are applying it to wet, pre-lightened hair, it's actually gonna come out a little bit lighter than that. It's gonna look more like a level 7 actually, which is a little bit more of like a medium blonde. And actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna mix in a little bit of a darker color. Why not? I'm gonna take 5 Stroke 1. So this is like an ashy medium brown. Just gonna mix a little bit of that in just to like slightly darken it a bit. I'm gonna do 4 grams of the 671 and then 2 grams of the 5 Stroke 1. And then I'm going to use 6 volume developer from Wella Colortouch as well. And with Colortouch, you need to do a 1:2 mixing ratio. So I did 6 grams of color. I'm gonna do 12 grams of developer. So when I'm applying my shadow root, what I like to do is bring it down a little bit lower in the back. And then up front, I'm just tapping it right at the root. And then where my money piece is in the front, I'm not putting any of it there at all because I want to keep that all the way up to the top and keep it like nice and bright. So just try to get it even on both sides. And then I like to take a comb and just lightly comb it down a little bit to blend it. And you might be thinking like, well, what is the point of a shadow root? Like I thought you wanted to bring the highlights up higher and the whole point was to get rid of your roots. The reason I like to do it is because like I said, this color that we're putting on, it's not gonna be extremely opaque. You're still gonna be able to see those highlights peeking through. It just kind of makes them ever so slightly darker, as if there's like just a shadow being cast on them. And it just helps everything blend so much nicer into your natural root color. So your roots are still gonna be lighter, but they're just not gonna be super crazy bright. So now that that's on there, I'm just gonna let that process for about 5 minutes or so. Then I'm just gonna rinse it out, put some conditioner in my hair, blow dry and style it, and I will be right back to show you the finished result. So here is the finished result of my hair. It's not like dramatically anything different. I just kind of brought everything up a bit. And you can see how you can still see all those little highlights because I brought them all the way up and through here, but that root smudge just kind of darkened it a bit and added like a shadowed kind of effect so that everything just blends and it's a really nice gradient. And it's crazy how just doing those couple of foils in the front and around my face made the overall look of my hair, I think, a lot brighter and blonder, even though the ends and all like underneath and in the back I didn't do anything to. And I think also just like bringing up these pieces in the very front makes such a huge difference. And for that, I didn't even end up needing to use any toner. I just put some toning conditioner. This is the purple toning conditioner from Overtone. I did a video talking about these products and how to use them and reviewing them and all that, so I will link it down in the description if you're interested. But I just applied this all over my hair after I rinsed my root color out, and I just left it in there while I like washed my body and all that. And you can see when I go to pull my hair back in a ponytail how it's bright around my face now. So that's gonna be it for this video. I hope that you guys found it helpful. If you did and you'd like to see more hair tutorials like this one in the future, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye.